video series on my psychic vibes of the Melbourne plane crash in February 2017. To view the other videos, just check out the links below. So when I started getting these vibes, and I started Googling and thinking, surely there's a conspiracy out there about this, and I didn't find anything initially. Then after a few days or a week, there was a few videos out there, but they didn't really vibe with me. However, there was one video where someone mentioned a connection with Spotlight. Now, the area where the plane crashed was in a shopping centre called DFO, Direct Factory Outlet, and there was a shop called Spotlight which the plane had crashed into, which is a well-known craft store all around Australia. And he mentioned a movie called Spotlight, and he was drawing connections to that. So when I went to look up briefly the movie Spotlight on Wikipedia, I noticed that the word summit, because Summit Entertainment was linked to the movie, as well as Lionsgate. Now when I saw the word summit, it immediately hit me. It was like a psychic flash, because then I recalled about a week before the crash, I had driven past a company called Summit, so you can see the picture here, and I remember again, because I often notice things when I'm driving, I often receive psychic information, flashes, insight, notice signs and so on, and I really noticed it again. I knew it was a sign, and it really had struck me at the time, and I remember just wondering what that was about, and I also suspected some kind of link to masonry as well, but I wasn't 100% sure, but it stood out to me. So there you go. So it's like I saw the sign at Summit a week before, roughly, and then after, when I saw the word summit, that meant that I was on the right track. Let's just put it that way at the very least. Also, considering Lionsgate made the movie, when I made my second video series of the site, I stopped in the car and to continue talking about impressions I was receiving, and I stopped right outside where I stopped to talk on the video was a lion statue, and I knew that the lion statue had a significance and that it was a sign, and I've only just realized now the link to Lionsgate. And the movie Spotlight, which I had never heard of, was apparently based on a true story of some investigative journalists who'd unravelled information about some Catholic Church pedophilia cases. And as I say that, I just get an awful feeling, I'll be honest. They developed a list of 87 names. However, September 11 then happened, and so their story was downranked. How convenient, and see the 9/11 connection again. And there's a lot of conspiracy around 9/11. As I connect with that, my stomach is literally cringing and clenching. So this YouTuber was making links and suggesting that it was no accident that the plane crashed into Spotlight. He felt that was deliberate in some way, and so you could say that's a possible example of how certain people in positions of power with negative intention like to leave traces or signs behind. It did happen at Spotlight, and previously I did have my Spotlight sign myself, as I've mentioned, and the media did focus a lot on the Spotlight staff, and there was a real spotlight on the word Spotlight. And again, I saw the word Spotlight after the event recently as another sign. That made me realize that I had written an article about the eclipse, and I was fixing it up again, in early February before this happened. And I remember writing the word Spotlight. Now this is a few weeks before the crash. And these are the things I pay attention to, because I remember just as I wrote it, I remember thinking, I have to use this word. I don't know why. And I am funny about words. I'm an English teacher, and I like my writing, and I write a lot, so I'm funny about my words. But I remember having a moment and pausing that I must include this word. I don't know why. There's something about this word. And then it dawned on me later, because I recalled that I had written the word Spotlight somewhere after the plane crash. So I had to scroll through all my writing to find the word Spotlight. So I'm just showing you here in the image right now. So this is how things happen. And then now that word Spotlight, I'd already seen it, or if you like predicted it, or it was a psychic flash before the accident happened and before I watched that video of the conspiracy theory linking Spotlight, the movie, and the weird thing about Spotlight. So Spotlight was definitely spotlighted in a number of ways. So you can see how things link together, how it is when you receive psychic flashes. Again, as I said, initially it is pieces that you put together, signs. So pay attention to these signs. Now, not long after the crash, when I was speaking to my husband about it and that I was getting all these sort of, psychic impressions, as I was talking to him and linking things together, I remember thinking, okay, Summit, why is the company I drove past it I noticed 6 triangles. Now I know triangle as being a Illuminati symbol or so on, or let's just say a symbol. I noticed there was 6. I was drawn to the number 6 and 6 triangles. Then I went to Google that, and then I came across this image here, which shows 6 triangles. That's also linked with the Illuminati, apparently, gathering of politicians, but I don't like to say that I word much. But anyway, just putting pieces together, let's just say. As I was telling my husband about it, I looked out my window, and what did I see but a Target sign, as in the circle of a Target. It's actually just a kid's pool toy, but I know that a Target was also a symbol to me, and the circles. Now, often I've received that before. It means that a Target symbol can often, it was linked once before to a plane crash that I'd mentioned in a previous video. I've seen it as a sign on plenty of times. To me, it means like that someone is targeted, or a terrorist attack is targeted, or it can mean other things too, in positive ways as well. But I had noticed it, and then also later I linked that with the Spotlight sign, which is a circle, which I had already seen as well, which I had also seen in the 60-kilometer circle sign, and again that word 6 in 60. Later I'd seen the number 60 again a couple of times, and I'd noticed that at least one of the passengers was 60 years old, and they were all pretty much in their 60s or of retirement age. Notice how the circle shape also looks like an eclipse, and this plane crash actually happened during eclipse season, between 2 eclipses. And eclipses are known to be very intense, and one aspect of them is that they bring about news and to watch for global news events and so on, which is interesting. They also illuminate and reveal truths. So it's like following a thread. Then notice how that day when I went to the fish and chip shop and looked at the newspaper, I noticed that when they did a snapshot of the area where the plane crashed, they actually put a Target sign on the Target symbol, the round circle you can see right there, on the point where the plane crashed. Now, yeah, isn't that interesting? So need I say no more? So notice the circle symbol on the Spotlight apron, the person that's wearing, and there was a lot of spotlight on the Spotlight staff, obviously on the news as well. But I feel that there's, on purpose, the Target has been put in the newspaper, and that there's a link somehow of Spotlight and the circle shape, again with the red, the colour red. And I will just leave that up to you. You can research your own facts and draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to draw any conclusions here, just give you pieces of information as you follow my my video journey and my thread of thoughts and vibes. But yes, the circle symbol and the Target symbol has also been known to be a negative symbol of sorts, let's just put it that way. And the media is controlled by the powers that be, by very rich elite people, and they like to control what's in the media, so just keep that in mind as well. So just to comment on premonitions, so the day before the crash actually happened, my son, who was 10, he sometimes also senses things, and sometimes he receives premonitions, and he actually said to me out of the blue, I don't want to go on a plane because they for sure crash. And he was really emphasizing they for sure crash. And then the next day, that plane crash happened in, not far from us. And then I also had a client who was due to see me the day of the crash, and she let me know that she had dreamed of a plane crashing the night before. And more remarkably also, Greg Garland, who was the former energy consultant on board the plane that crashed, had been posting on social media in the period shortly leading up to the crash that he had a fear of flying, and that a kind of severe anxiety, especially about the smaller planes, and his statements were seen to be like premonitions as well.